Hello and welcome to our Blackboard series for beginners. Today we're covering something pretty damn important. We're going to cover how to buy or just get how to buy your first Bitcoins. Now, this is for two reasons. One, you just want some Bitcoins. You've gotten excited by the whole process and you want to jump in, or you want to learn more. So the best way to learn is not watch these videos or read up online. Just buy a little bit. You can buy under a penny's worth. Well, it's hard to buy, but you could have a friend send you under a penny's worth and you could put it in one wallet. You could open up 100 wallets and move it around and see how it all works, see how stable it is, see whether you lose or have made money. Getting your feet wet is one of the best reasons to get your first Bitcoin. So how to buy or get your first Bitcoins. And remember, you can jump in the system for less than pennies. You don't have to give anyone a credit card. You don't have to tell them your name, your address, or anything. You can get in as easily as you would email, in fact, easier. You don't have to provide any information at all. So this could be titled, How to Get Your Feet Wet, or maybe even just dive in entirely, right? And remember that you can, you can get your feet wet for next to nothing, right? So for 0.1 pennies of American dollars, you can already have a Bitcoin account and play around moving stuff around. You can divide that up into much smaller units even. So you can get started really easily. Now, one thing that's worth mentioning right now is if you're getting your feet wet, if you're moving to this, one thing that concerns most people is that you aren't actually holding the Bitcoins. You will never hold an actual Bitcoin, despite all the logos and everything you see in all these coins. You will never hold a Bitcoin. And for a lot of people, there's a big leap, right? This seems like a scary move. But, you know, if some crazy Martian came down right now and dropped a rule on you, they said, you as an American or European or someone in a very modern community, you can never use cash again. You'd be like, well, that's not the world's biggest punishment, because most of the transactions you make right now are not cash. So this is an internet statistic, so I don't know how much it means, but 97% of all transactions, not the Bitcoin one, but of all transactions made in the U.S. today, in the USA, are digital. All right. If you make interest on your bank account, does your bank account send you actual coins or dollars? No, they don't send you anything. They just blip up a little digital counter, right? If you go to the coffee shop and you pay with your debit card, right, or your credit card, right? These are digital transactions, right? These are entirely digital. In fact, mostly now, if you get a loan from the bank, you don't walk out with a bag of money, right? They go blip, blip. And the computer adds more money. It's not like back in their safe. They take a bag out and put it in a special storage. It's all digital. All right. So digital transactions are really a current thing. And cash, turns out, is kind of annoying. As most of you know, cash is annoying, right? So if someone hands you, like, say the bill is $1, right? Then they hand you back 99 cents, or you had a 20. So you get $18.99, right? You got to carry that around. It actually weighs something. It's kind of annoying, and it's dirty, right? So someone has a cold, blowing their nose, who God knows what, that sits there in the porous of your paper, right? It even sits on a metal coin, right? The rhinovirus travels better than any disease on earth. All right, so cash is annoying. So working with digital currency is something, actually, we all do, and we're all familiar with, right? So is now. It's not a future. It's not a Bitcoin future, right? So working with digital currency is now, and Bitcoin, if it had been invented in the 1970s, would have failed. So Bitcoin came about now because it can. Bitcoin can work now. All right, so you're ready to buy. All right, let's go back to buying. So let's buy some Bitcoin, or get some Bitcoin, because this is actually the first method, which is my most recommended method. I'm bad with this Wacom tablet. The first method, which I think is the easiest way to get in, is have a friend send you some Bitcoin. Send Bitcoin, right? That's the easiest way to get going. So what you need to do, and we'll cover this in another episode, but I'll touch on it briefly, before you can get your friend to send it to you, right? Before anyone can send you an email, you need to set up an email account, all right? The same is true with Bitcoin. So before anyone can send you Bitcoin, right, you need to have some way of receiving it. And the most common way of receiving it is you open a Bitcoin wallet, right? And Bitcoin loves all these terrible metaphors, right? There's no coins in your hand. There's no Bitcoin, right? And they send you a wallet. Now, the wallet metaphor is a little bit better, but it's still, so you need to set up a wallet, right? And you can set up a wallet. You can set up a wallet. Right now, I think even Apple has finally agreed to allow a wallet on their apps. They've been hating any competitive currency. They're trying to set up their own. To set up a wallet, you can put one on your phone, and I think by far the most common is Bitcoin Wallet for Android, but there's other competitors, right? So have a friend send you some Bitcoin. All right, so once you set up the wallet, you tell them, and they can go beep, 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 bleep. And within seconds, usually, you'll see that you've received the Bitcoins. Now, it takes a while. There's a confirmation process. We'll touch on some of it. But you actually will start to see it there. Within 10 minutes or so, you'll actually be able to spend it, send it to another wallet. A lot of people, what they do is they set up a couple wallets or a couple accounts, and they send it to themselves a few times just to see how the whole process works. Highly recommend it. Great way of learning. So a friend sends you some Bitcoins. And I highly recommend, and I've done this a ton, is you look at an area which might not have many people using Bitcoin. You think they might need it. My wife is Ugandan, right? So I send Bitcoins to her family, right? And it's a great adventure for them figuring out how they can use it and all that. I've sent it to friends that I met in Egypt, elsewhere. Send small amounts, right? To her brother, I sent a larger amount, but normally I'll send $2 or $3, and it gets just enough to get people excited, start to use it and understand it. So not only will you learn, but your friend is usually excited to send you some amount of Bitcoins. The number 2 best way, if you're American, is to go on to Coinbase.com. Now, Coinbase is a company, all right? And their big idea is they will profit off of you wanting to switch money. They're an exchange, right? And exchanges exist in every type of currency that you can imagine. So you can exchange dollars to euros, and you'll pay the exchanger money for the exchange. So exchange companies make money. Coinbase typically takes on the order of 1%. That's pretty damn good as exchangers go. All right, so they're going to take 1%. So if you've got $101 and you send that to them, they'll give you $100 worth of Bitcoin at their exchange rate. I like Coinbase. I use Coinbase a lot. For many people who have Visa cards, you can actually do instant buys, whereas most of the other exchanges, you have to send them a wire transfer. They'll wait till the bank thing clears, and then they'll give you your Bitcoin. So it takes a number of days. If you don't have a Visa card, even on Coinbase, it takes 5 or 6 days to do the turnaround. And Coinbase will ask you for a lot more details, right? Your friend, when you set up a wallet, you don't need to put in information. Coinbase does remove some level of anonymity. So if you're up to illegal stuff, maybe Coinbase is not your best option. But if you're not worried about that sort of thing, Coinbase might be the best way to get started. And then if you are doing illegal stuff, not recommended, set up another account somewhere else and send the money over to that. So it's another good way to get started, get your first coins, is this amazing little service called localbitcoins.com. And I admit, when I first saw this, I was like, they'll never take off. What the hell is that? But they're doing very well. And what localbitcoins.com is you go onto the site, and the first thing they ask you is for your zip code. So, you type in 02134, isn't that Zoom's old zip code? All right. So you type in your zip code, and up immediately will come a list of if anyone's selling Bitcoins in the area. So there might be someone selling Bitcoins 2 doors down from you. You can now text them saying, well, through local Bitcoin, send them a message saying that you're interested, you want to buy it, and then you determine some sort of meetup place. One of my friends who uses local Bitcoins a lot meets up in McDonald's. Okay. Why? Well, McDonald's has cameras. There's usually people around. The old idea of money transactions was an open market called Buttonwood, which people are using now for Bitcoins, is to be around a lot of people because you're less likely to have a scammy transaction, right? If the guy in local Bitcoin says, hey, come down to my little alley and a bunch of Italians are greasing their hair, right, and it's dark and you know, smells like fish or something, you probably don't want to go do that. So come up with a public meeting place. And what you'll do is you'll have set up a wallet. So remember that before you deal with them, definitely try and set yourself up a Bitcoin wallet, right? On your phone or on your computer, but you'll have to have internet access where you go. And McDonald's usually has internet, right? So you set up your Bitcoin wallet, you go meet them. And then you want to watch as the transaction takes place. So they'll probably ask you to bring cash. So you bring, say you want to buy 1 Bitcoin. So today it's 170 something. You bring $170 and you'll be sitting there and you'll hand it to him and he'll beep, beep, beep. And you should see a flash of receiving those Bitcoins right there. And then, in all fairness, you probably want to wait till you get your third confirmation, which takes about 10 minutes. So have a little coffee, chat the guy up a little bit. A lot of people don't even wait for it. I don't even wait for the confirmation on a small amount like that. But, you know, if you want to be really sure, you wait for the third confirmation, which is Bitcoin's transaction server basically saying this transaction is final. So he can't call it back or he can't double spend or cheat you in any way. Okay, once that's on there and it's confirmed, he has no access to those funds. He doesn't even really know too much about who he sent them to or how. It only appears on your phone. Once that's done, you can part ways. If you want to make a receipt, some people do a bill of sale. You can do that. So, you know, local Bitcoins are great. Another way that people work with local Bitcoins is actually completely online. So someone will send money via PayPal or someone will send a bank transfer or something and you'll do it online. That's got some inherent fraud capabilities inside it, but people have been doing that. Which leads us to, you know, these are my 3 favorite ways to get started, right? So here's James's recommended ways to get started. Good ways, good, cool ways to get started getting some Bitcoin, right? And I've used all of those. Now, I'm going to give you some others that I haven't used, but I hear people using, and they have some inherent problems. The first is kind of funny, and you wouldn't probably think about it, but on eBay, people are selling Bitcoins. And it turns out a lot of people in countries where there isn't an exchange are buying them. So if you're in Egypt, there's no local exchange. There's no Coinbase.com that serves for Egypt, right? If you log on to Coinbase in Egypt, they don't serve you. So if you're in Egypt and you want Bitcoins, eBay is one way to go. So you go to eBay, you send the money with PayPal, and you deal with all they're going to have lots of specifications because it's got some fraud and there's been some PayPal chargebacks and all this stuff, especially if you're a Bitcoin seller. It's a little risky, but that's one way to do it. And as long as you are careful and are not dealing with enormous amounts, it's probably going to be an okay way to do it. Another is there's a number of other exchanges. So Coinbase.com isn't the only one. I've heard of one just opening up in North America. I think it's Canadian, called Satoshi Vault or something like that. Vault of Satoshi. Check it out. They're new. New exchanges can be great, but you do want to let them season a little bit. And then further outside of the U.S., you have the big daddy of them all, Mt. Gox, the big daddy. I won't draw a shark. They're not a shark, so get rid of that. They're the big daddy, right? They got the big beard. They've been around the longest. They've served and transacted more Bitcoins than anybody else. They've run into some difficulty lately. They've been having a lot of hard times giving people their money back in U.S. dollars. You can buy with them. You do need to set up an account. It'll require some wire transfer, sending them money. It'll take a few days. Then you can move your Bitcoins around, and I hear that's pretty safe. But once you ask for your money back in dollars, they're not so good, so maybe move your Bitcoins somewhere else. Then there's Bitstamp, the up-and-comer. They're in Eastern Europe or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but they're not in the U.S. Also quite reliable, doing lots of transactions. And then, especially if you have or can read and write in Chinese, there's the Chinese exchanges, which are blowing up because China's getting very involved. So that's another way to get your Bitcoins. And for some reason, I thought there was some other thing. I forgot to mention mining, right? That's a great way to get your first Bitcoins. Mining is not one of the recommended ways right now. So there's a lot of problems with this main thing called difficulty, etc. So it's not one of my recommended ways, but it also will cover that in a full video series of itself. So wait for a bigger video, wait for full series. All right. So don't worry about mining for now. Get in, get a friend and mail you some, buy some with Coinbase, whatever. Don't worry about mining. It's not the best way to get your Bitcoins right now. But that's pretty much it. That's how you will get started. Coinbase, again, is going to ask you for some information, some bank stuff. I've given it to them. I find them very reliable, very helpful. They're young. They're moving. Everything's going to be risky. Owning dollars is risky. Owning euros is risky. So learn the system. Buy a few Bitcoins, buy a few Ringos, buy a few milli Bitcoins, right? Which someone proposed was Ringos. Buy a few Ringos, 50 Ringos, and move it around, play with it with your friends, have fun. And I think that you'll find that Bitcoins are much easier to use than everyone perceives and much more understandable if you buy. So, good luck, Bitcoiners. My name is James D'Angelo. This is WBN. And hit like, subscribe, comment, anything. Take care. Enjoy.